morning, good afternoon. I want to share with you a story today from Scotland called Nessie Celebrates Christmas. For those of you who don't know Nessie, she is a sea monster who lives in Loch Ness and loves to come out every so often and see people. So let's find out what happens when she finds out about Christmas. In the north of Scotland lies a very long and very deep lake called Loch Ness. For many, many years, people have been whispering about a monster living in the loch. Some say she's a dinosaur who survived even when all other dinosaurs disappeared. Others say she's a dragon or a sea serpent, but they all agree on her name, Nessie. If you dive deep into the loch, you'd find that Nessie doesn't look as scary as everyone thinks. She's got beautiful green eyes, long flippers, and a tail that she uses to swim. She likes to wear a bright red scarf because the water of Loch Ness is very cold. Nessie spends most of her time playing with the fish in the loch, but sometimes she swims up to the surface to peek at the humans. They're strange creatures. They go on boats because they don't like to get wet. Nessie doesn't understand that. She loves the feel of water against her scales. They also use strange instruments to look for Nessie, but of course she's far too clever to let them see her. And one year they did something even weirder, and that's where our story begins. The humans put lights on trees. Strange, right? It looked as if they pulled the stars from the sky and wrapped them around the tree branches. They also put colorful decorations on the trees, like baubles and garlands. Nessie was very confused by that. Why would anyone want a tree to glow at night? She asked some of her fish friends, but none of them knew why humans were doing this. Maybe they're talking to the stars, Tom the trout suggested, signaling them to come to Earth. No, I think they're scared of the darkness and want to make the nights brighter, Susie the salmon said. Ella the eel had an idea. Go ask the otter. He watches the humans a lot. Maybe he knows. Nessie swam to the other end of the loch where Otto the otter lives. He's very old and usually keeps to himself, but he's always liked Nessie. Why do the humans have lights on the trees? Nessie asked, while Otto made her some of his famous algae tea. Why, that's because it's Christmas, Otto exclaimed. Have you never heard about Christmas? Nessie shook her head, feeling a little silly. Come with me, Otto said, and together they swam to the banks of the loch until they came to a brightly lit house. They looked through the window. Inside was a human family. They had a big tree in their living room. Just like the trees outside, this one was full of lights and baubles. 2 children were looking at boxes underneath the tree. Those are presents, Otto exclaimed. They do that every year. Nessie watched the human adults eat and talk and laugh. They seemed really happy. But why, she asked. I don't understand. It's Christmas, Otto said. I've heard them tell stories about a human pup that was special somehow. What I like about it is that everyone comes together to eat and celebrate and be happy. Nessie got a little sad. She wanted to do this too, but then she thought, why not? Otto, can you invite all my friends to visit me tomorrow? The otter nodded and she gave him a grateful hug. Nessie swam back to her home at the bottom of the loch and prepared for her own little Christmas party. She had a lot to do, but she was a strong monster who didn't need much sleep. The next day, her friends arrived. Otto had told them about Christmas, so they each brought a little present. Nessie had been very busy. Of course, there were no trees underwater, but she found a very large seaweed stalk that she decorated with glowing worms. She'd even added some of her favorite rocks, which now looked like stone baubles. Everyone was really impressed by the Christmas seaweed tree. They sat together and had a great time. After they'd eaten, they handed each other their presents. Otto made everyone some of his famous algae tea. Tom gave Nessie earrings made from his own scales, even though she didn't have any ears, but Nessie didn't tell him that. Susie brought pretty seashells to put on the seaweed tree. Ella didn't bring a present, but she sang a beautiful song that made everyone happy. And finally, Nessie handed them each a scarf, just like the one that she always wore. It was one of the best days ever. Nessie realized she hadn't spent enough time with her friends recently and vowed to change that. From now on, they were going to celebrate Christmas once a month. They weren't humans after all and could bend the rules just a little. When everyone had left, Nessie swam up to the surface and looked at all the lit up trees and the happy families in their homes. She smiled. They didn't believe in her, but they had given her a present without even knowing that she was real. They'd shown her how wonderful Christmas could be. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story from Scotland, the story of Nessie and how she celebrated her first Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.